Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston, and I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. I'm reading the book Victorious Eschatology by Harold Eberle. November the 9th and the 10th, I will be in Bend, Oregon, and Harold and I are going to have a two-day discussion. It's going to be a very informal get-together. It's just going to be Harold and me around a table. We're going to discuss the differences between his postmillennial eschatology and the full preterist view. And again, it's just going to be an informal discussion between two brothers. If you can, at all, make your plans to be with us in Bend, Oregon, November the 9th and the 10th. The details are on all of my websites, eschatology.org, bibleprophecy.com, or donkpreston.com. So go there and get the details of it, and I'll post some more about it on Facebook as well, but you can already see the announcements on Facebook. But it promises to be a very, very friendly, informal discussion of the two views. Again, postmillennialism, partial preterism, and the full preterist view, in a very, very friendly format. So be with us. Okay, we are discussing the already but the not yet of eschatology. That means that Jesus and his apostles, who wrote the New Testament, spoke of eschatological events: salvation, redemption, the kingdom, resurrection, as present or already realities, and then said those very identical things were yet to come, and they would come at the parousia. We've already talked about the resurrection to some extent, and now we're talking about a related idea, a related theme, and that is the harvest. Now, I don't know very many people, in fact, I don't know that I know of any, that would delineate sharply between the harvest and resurrection. Those ideas are inextricably bound in the Bible. Well, I want you to notice John chapter 4. We've already looked at Matthew chapter 3, but in John chapter 4, Jesus says, "Do you not say within yourselves, there are 4 months, and then the harvest? Verily I say unto you, lift up your eyes unto the fields, for they are already white unto the harvest." You know, folks, what we have here is a somewhat veiled to us as modern readers or listeners, but nonetheless a very powerful indication, implication, and statement concerning the harvest. And that is that it would be in fulfillment of Israel's Festal calendar. Here's what I mean. Israel's festival calendar, there were 7 feasts in Israel's calendar. I can't go into great detail on this, but let me simply say the very first 4 feasts began Israel's yearly calendar. You had the very first week, a feast, which was Passover. You had the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, and then Pentecost, which was known as the Feast of First Fruits. Then you had a 4-month period of time that the rabbis sometimes called waiting for judgment. Why did they call it that? Because the last 3 feasts began with Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets, which was also predictive of, a shadow of, the judgment. So you had this 4-month period of time waiting for Rosh Hashanah, the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, and then the Feast of Sukkot, also known as the Feast of Ingathering, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Harvest. So you see, here we have Pentecost, Feast of First Fruits, and this is the springtime harvest. 4 months of waiting, and then the final Feast of Harvest. This is the latter day Feast of Harvest. And remember, in Jewish theology, Jewish eschatology, these last three feasts were the eschatological feast. Jesus said, referring directly to the festal calendar, when he said, do you not say there are 4 months and then the harvest? You see, here's Pentecost, Feast of First Fruits, 4 months, then the harvest, the latter day harvest. And Jesus said, this is what you do in your feast days. This is what your feast days represent. By the way, this is an already, but a not yet of harvest, right? Feast of First Fruits, Feast of Harvest. But Jesus said, lift up your eyes, for the fields are already white unto harvest. What we have here is an absolutely undeniable, and although implicitly stated from our viewpoint of modernity, to the Jewish reader, to the Jewish hearer, an emphatic reference that the harvest, i.e. the resurrection, would be the fulfillment of Israel's festal calendar. Now, folks, this is incredibly powerful because it places the already and the not yet within an absolutely positive, absolutely firm historical, theological, eschatological framework. It places the already but the not yet of harvest and resurrection within the framework of the fulfillment of the Old Covenant law, the Old Covenant promises made to Old Covenant Israel, and the fulfillment of Torah. A lot of people want to say that Torah has passed away, and yet what Torah foreshadowed, i.e. what the Feast of Harvest foreshadowed, resurrection, has not yet occurred. But you can't do that. Jesus said, not one jot, not one tittle shall pass from the law until it is all fulfilled. Nothing exemplified, foreshadowed, and typified the eschatological fulfillment more than the law of Israel's feast days. There's just simply no way, logically, properly, hermeneutically, to say, oh, well, Israel's feast days, the ceremonial sacrifices, the ceremonial cultus, all that's been passed away, been annulled, but we're still looking for the fulfillment of what those feasts anticipated. No, not one jot, not one tittle shall pass from the law until it is all fulfilled. You know, I made this argument in my recent debate with Steve and Greg. I pointed out that Israel's feast days were typological of the eschatological confirmation, and that Jesus said none of the law would pass until it was all fulfilled. And Steve Gregg, demonstrating the wonderful attitude that he had in the debate, said he had never heard of it, said it was fascinating, and it's something he was going to have to take a look at. I appreciate his attitude so much. We must all have that same attitude. Folks, you need a copy of that debate. Go to my websites, www.eschatology.org, BibleProphecy.com, DonKPreston.com. Order a copy of the Steve Gregg, Don Preston debate that was held Denver, Colorado, September the 8th, 6th through the 8th of 2013, and I will pay the shipping on your order. Do it today. This offer is only good through the month of October of 2013. All right? Hey, thanks for joining me. We'll have more on this important topic of the already and the not yet as related to Israel's feast days in our next segment. In the meantime, we'll see you on the flip side.